I think it's interesting because I think there was an equation of masculinity man with money and power. I think that equilibrium in many maybe micro senses changed a long time ago. So I'm not saying that there's parity in terms of income, etc.
Yeah, sure.
But I think we didn't say money. So money, therefore power. Therefore, that's not how it works. Okay, so it's like a stupid example, right? So in Xhosa culture, they like we had like some event, and it was probably like 10, 15 years ago, and it's one of my uncles, and there was like whenever you like slaughter a sheep, there's certain pieces of a sheep that we regard as delicacies, like intloko, which is like the head, etc. And then those are reserved for the men.
Right.
That's the common wisdom. So my uncle then, like this is like rural Eastern Cape, must have been like 15 years ago or so, then goes there and there was some event, and then I think like a couple of the females like, oh, like, do you want? It's like, oh, they're fun of it, like, we'll never have this chance.
Yeah.
They take it, and then he takes it, and then like it's a moral taboo, and the men come back, right? The men of the village come back. They're like, hey, what happened here? Because what happened here? And then he is like, no, like by these ladies. How can they do something like that? And it's like, hi, it's fine. Hey, why would you do something like that? It's like, well, what was the reason for intloko being eaten by the men? Oh, because the men at that time had bought it. Okay. But this one here, even 15 years ago, was bought by these women. Hi, but you can't you can't say this as much as it's like, well, but that was the logic of it, right?
Yes, right?
But the point is that like there's 2018 things are changing. Oh, but it was the very spurious correlations to begin with. It didn't come from money, and I don't think it came from money and power, and therefore that's why you equate that. We just took it. We took it as a given right, no matter what the proxy was, right? Because if it was money and power and provision, think of the migrant labor system. Yes, you went out to work in the mines, but remember, our wealth wasn't in the mines; it was in the land. And what you had, what you were cultivating, and the crops, etc., which were taken care of traditionally by the women, at least in the Xhosa setting.
Yeah.
So by that proxy, maybe maybe it wasn't like that, right? So I think there was a relationship with how they started, but I think it was not linear at all, right? And our issue is not so much money, power gives me this. It's more that I am a man, therefore I should have this. That's where a lot more of it comes from, rather than like. And you see that because there's a couple of examples where people do things like no, but they must have power, but from the other side, it's like, but like, why was that? How did that? Why did we choose to organize ourselves that way? And it's far less and of course there might be a general truth to that, right? But the street we grew up in Mthatha was predominantly like single mothers, right? And it's like a white, it's like a township type area, but like people have like like 2-3 bedroom houses, etc. And most of it are headed by females, and then there'd be like 1 or 2 responsible men in the street. That man always had power. So of course there would be the example of the one who's a drunkard, who then for me is like, oh wait, man, of course they're like this, and then I'm like, okay, well, that later on, right? But those men who, because they didn't stuff it up, had far more power as Datu Banban from the streets, like, but like from where? Does he make more money? It just is, right? So we took it. It wasn't coming from money power. We took it, and then we almost rolled with it, even when it wasn't warranted. Even if we said that metric was money, and power, and then it got more. Then it became true that they were generally more powerful.
First of all, what is your understanding of what patriarchy is? What does that term mean?
Yeah, so I think it's by and large, it's always the often undeserved power that we get as men, perpetuated by the society we live in, which is both men and women.
Okay. Yeah. And having said that, why is it a problem? I mean, it's something that's received a lot of airtime, And in the show, I think I definitely want to ask men, okay, fine, patriarchy is a definition. Why do you believe it's a problem? If you reckon it's a problem.
It's the undeserved part, right?
Yeah.
I think it should be negotiated. So it's like,
yeah.
it should be like, there should be no form of supremacism that should be invisible eye should be random, right? But it's that it's undeserved, and it's that it's in many ways is responsible for a lot of like the negative things that we experience. Yeah. And
in your own journey, when do you think you became conscious of patriarchy and your privilege that you enjoyed as a man, etc.?
So it's probably the transition to like probably my like late teens to early 20s.
Okay.
When suddenly you're no longer just a child. And of course I had like been from patriarchy from a long time before, but I think for me when it really hit almost home is that it's the transition. You're not a child and you're not an adult, and you're adult and you are also adult called man. And adult called man then has certain expectations, but also privilege that's attached that other people don't have, right? And negotiating where I sit within that, given my person, my history, what I think, how I've grown up, etc. It was hard, right?
Okay.
It's almost similar to masculinity. It's a hard.
And do you think part of the realization or what really hit home is having seen negative lived experiences of people around you experiencing, the negative, this patriarchy. So, cousins, friends, and all of that.
So I think those you'd experience from a long time, right?
Yeah.
You know that some people just get away with, more than less. And in many ways, like the household we grew up in was a little bit like atypical that like it, at least in my head, wasn't as apparent to that. So I think you'd seen it experienced in other people. For me, it's when I had to position myself with all the conditions within that space.
Yeah.
Where it like, Jesus Christ, like it's a thing. So in many ways, maybe I had seen it before, but it was like selfish to it. It didn't hit home.
And with all that being said, why do you think men have stayed silent? Because to this day, I don't think for black men in South Africa, there's been any kind of quote unquote united voice or taking a stand. There've been efforts, here and there. I would say pockets of not in my name in these marches, but by and large, we can say that we've been silent. Why do you think that is?
Privilege is nice. It's nice. It's what by and large blinded and probably still blinds me to a lot of injustices. It's nice.